the questions that you asked, Madam Chairperson, are exactly the right ones. Is there a way out? And clearly, first I'd like to make the remark that yes, it may be the Asian century, but it is not yet the Asian century. The Western world, or say North America and Europe, if you add them up, are still 50% of the world economy. If you add up all of Asia, you come to around 30% of the world economy. And similarly with trade, similar divide along those lines. Of course, Asia is rising. Kawai has already mentioned that that is not a given for any developing country. There is a risk of the middle income trap. There is a risk of conflict, which is dramatically bad for development, historically speaking. And there are some centers of potential conflict in Asia as well as in the rest of the world. And even though we before the Russian invasion of the Ukraine, we sort of thought that the world was a much more peaceful place than in the past, that is not necessarily a given going forward. But if things go right, Goldman Sachs just brought out a report in the world in 2075, where China would be the largest economy in the world, India would be number 2, the United States would be number 3, and Indonesia and Nigeria 4 and 5. So 3 out of the 5 countries in the top 5 would be Asian. And you also have Pakistan as one of the larger ones down the road. Japan still plays a role in the top 15, but is way, way down. So there will be, on top, there will be 2 Asian countries. And the question is, how will they shape the world order at that particular point in time? Now, I know China much more than India, but I do know that both countries are really quite different. And talking about conflict, there are some scrummages at the border as we speak between the 2 countries. So it is not necessarily that there is an Asian view on that future. And I believe that is going to be one of the big challenges as this Asian century unfolds. One of the key risks, and we're right in the middle of it, is that Asia has, of course, done very well as part of globalization. As a matter of fact, China, and they have acknowledged that repeatedly, the leadership has acknowledged that many times, China has benefited tremendously from the existing world order. And trade has been a very big part of it. The WTO has been a very big part of it. And on the back of that, the countries fared very well. The trouble is, though, that WTO is getting a little bit outmoded, and some real issues of tension in trade currently are not addressed in the WTO. And I think that is one of the critical threats to further integration, to further globalization, to further productivity gains, as Kawai already pointed out. And the differences are, of course, numerous. They're on data issues, on environmental issues, industrial policy and state support, on what this resilience after the pandemic should be. And probably the biggest one is the rise of national security. Yes, in the United States, but not just in the United States. As a matter of fact, across the region, across the world, national security has jumped to the fore in the recent years. And the WTO is well, they have an exception on national security, but there's not even agreement about what that exception means. So the United States says, well, it's an exception, and therefore we can do anything. But the WTO itself, the arbitration panel, say, no, this is actually limitation. But irrespective, there's a dispute there at the very heart of the WTO, and that needs to be resolved. In terms, let me come to solutions, because I only have 6 minutes and I have 4 left, two left, I think. But so first is really, I think, encouraging sandboxes for regulatory reforms. A few countries, like-minded countries, hopefully small countries like Singapore, they can just start solving problems. And as a matter of fact, they have done so. CPTPP started as such. Singapore and Brunei and New Zealand and Chile started to talk, and they said, well, we can, as a small club, we can agree on these difficult issues. Now it's become a bigger agreement. Similarly with data, Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, and Chile have started a data trade agreement, which is very important as a model for the rest. I believe the national security would be great to be next in that sandbox. Second, I think making existing trade agreements work better through regulatory deepening, as Kawai already pointed out, but also through increased membership. And of course, the big opportunity in Asia is India joining RCEP. I know that's a big jump, but I want to have said it because it's going to be a major addition to the Asian integration if possible. And third, and again, I think Kawai said something similar, is use the G20 as a platform for reaching some sort of a consensus on those very difficult issues. And they won't go away, those issues, but getting an agreement where everybody is reasonably unhappy rather than making everybody happy is I think, the crux for going forward. And that includes issues as industrial policy, state support, yes, the national security question, and the greening of the world economy. Thank you very much.